What would the world be like if your fundamental magic system drove your users insane? Hello, friends. My name is Jake Montanez, and this is my self-publishing vlog. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about one of my magic systems being elemental magic. And this type of magic utilizes the dispersion of light and the creation of the elements themselves for interaction with humans, goblins, other life forms, and they communicate kind of telepathically and through whispers to let that person that we'll just call them a shaman. That's pretty much my generic term for them. Lets the shaman know their will and how to use them in the course of events. And the shaman can utilize the elements in order to change weather patterns, to start fires, to call lightning, uh, to do all sorts of miscellaneous things like that. And this magic tends to drive them insane. And there's a term for it that they call sky touched. And the way this kind of falls out is they're hearing all these whispers. They begin communicating with the whispers kind of telepathically, and it eventually begins to bleed into their reality. And they're seeing these elements in various forms all in front of them, like lights that are different colors that just kind of pop in and out of existence. They're like little sparkles or something like that. And as they flow around, they kind of move with the environment. They react differently depending on whether they're air elements or if they're fire elements or earth elements. I try to just stay away from earth, air, fire, water type stuff. You can have trees or vines or grass. All of these things constitute something that's reasonably elemental and can communicate with the shaman if they choose to listen to those whispers. So at first it becomes a very confusing thing for them to begin to realize that they're hearing the elements talking to them. And then as that continues onwards, they begin to talk back and forth with the elements. And like I said a minute ago, it kind of bleeds into their reality where they're first talking in their heads with the elements, and then they start talking out loud, and then they just start watching all of these things, and they're disconnected. They don't know. They're having a conversation with the person in front of them, but they're also talking to the elements off to the side and having little asides with the elements as they communicate, and they seem to lose their touch with reality a little bit over time until they can get to the point where their minds are so addled and scrambled from their usage and communication with the elements that they are unable to really interact with the real world. They're so out of touch, and you'll see that in some of the characters I have, like Driver, who is a very advanced elemental shaman and has definitely got a few screws loose, and I really enjoy writing that character, and I'll talk about him in one of my later videos. Um, but this insanity that the normal population sees coming from shamans has become perceived as a threat, and shamans are actively hunted down and destroyed by Elovan sentinels, and they have their own abilities that I'll talk about it in a different video. But they are very heavily persecuted against. Shamans are basically outlawed by the current regime, led by the Regency, and they're hunted down and destroyed almost without fail. There's actually birth laws where local priests and priestesses are required by law to test every newborn and eliminate them if they show any tendency to be a shaman. So between that and the Elven Sentinels hunting them down, there are very few of them left at the present time in my story, but a few of them kind of slip through the cracks, like my friend Daitan is. And that's where all of his issues come into play. There's a counterbalance to the destruction that the elements can cause, because as you start pulling things from various locations, if they want to manipulate fire, the heat has to come from somewhere. If they want to cause rain to fall, that water has to come from somewhere. If they want to generate electricity, that impetus has to come from somewhere. It drains something, and it causes a lot of disharmony. And if it's used too rapidly or too frequently in succession in a specific location, The damage there can become catastrophic in the long term as the world tries to reassert its natural tendencies. So the counterbalance is that a shaman needs to seek some form of harmony with the elements, and that is the journey that Daitan is going to be going down, learning how to try to find harmony to minimize the damage that he causes when he uses the elements. And I think it's going to be a very interesting situation for him. Anyway, that's the basic gist of what an elemental shaman does in my story. And I hope that's a neat little snippet of information for you guys to fall in on and see if you kind of like that kind of magic style. A lot of my writing has to do with implementing the characters' interactions with their powers and see how that unfolds for them and in their interpersonal lives and as well as their internal lives. And I really like to see how that grows out. So if you like this video and think that sounds interesting and would like to follow more about my story and the writings that I'm creating, please like my video and subscribe to my channel, and drop me any comments or questions you have about the things that I talk about, because I'd love to answer them. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.